I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I've finally gone off my rocker and my woodworking project is a chunk of wood. It's a cube. Well, it is a cube, but a little bit more too. What this is a puzzle. And it looks like a really, really simple puzzle, and well, it is to probably most normal people, but for me, I always forget how they go back together. And you'll be surprised when you give this to people and say, take these 5 pieces of wood and make a cube out of them. And I don't know, it's really difficult for me at least. Believe it or not, this is actually a little bit challenging to make, even though it's just 5 pieces of wood. And what it will challenge you on is the accuracy of your cuts, because you really have to have straight cuts to get this thing to look nice and for all of the pieces to come together. And after I put this together, what it told me is that my cutting skills are really not up to par, and I really need to align some of my blades a little bit better and just get everything tweaked in my shop. So, I don't know, it's a good way to practice on your saws, and it makes a great little gift for a kid or really an adult who's like me and can't figure these things out very easily. You can make this cube at any size you want, but I have discovered that it's a lot easier to make it bigger than it is smaller. I made this little prototype using 3/4 inch lumber, and it was very difficult to make these sharp cuts there and get everything to fit together properly. I did set this up, and I drew some lines on here so you can see how this works. It's a grid set up with 27 squares, 9 by 3. And each square, even though I haven't really drawn them square on here, will be the same dimensions as the thickness of your lumber. In this case I used 3/4 inch lumber, and so each square should be 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to use 1 5/8 inch thick lumber for this cube. I also discovered in this prototype that I really can't make this out of one piece of wood and cut out all of the shapes. The problem is actually, the thickness of the kerf of the saw makes it difficult to get all of these precisely the same dimensions, and it's really almost impossible to make these cuts around here. Even with a bandsaw, it's just really difficult. So what I'm going to do is do 5 pieces, each 9 by 9 units, and then cut each one out individually. Now I've got all 5 of my blank squares cut, and if you go over here to my prototype, the little one, you can see that these 3 are going to be cut down to just 2 units wide apiece. So that's what I'll do with these 3 blocks. These, I can use the entire block and just cut away these pieces. I wanted to make as many of my cuts with the table saw, as many as I could first, because I know I can get a really accurate cut with them and a nice straight edge. So this piece, and this piece, I was able to cut down to size. Of course, this piece, I'll need to cut out this chunk, and this piece the same. The little bitty square here is done. These 2 pieces, I will need to cut out this 1 unit, and over here it'll be 2 units. Now, the reason why I can't make those cuts on the table saw, if you don't already know, is because of the round blade of the table saw. It makes cutting those and stopping them where they need to be difficult. To illustrate, I cut a little example here. Here's my 1 unit piece that I need to cut to, and my saw blade will go up to here on one side, but if I flip it over, you can see because it's round, it cuts all the way through. Now I know I could get around that somewhat by raising the blade up really high and trying to cut in the halfway point, but it's still going to make a little bit of a curve there, and my blade really doesn't go that high. So I could do this with a handsaw, which is actually a pretty good option in this case, or I can use my bandsaw, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot on the bandsaw. Well, there you have it. That's all there is to it, those 5 pieces of wood. And here they all are in kind of an exploded view. If you wanted to make one of these, you could just pause your player right here for a few seconds and then just jot down the arrangement of those. Again, this is a great test of your saws and to see how accurately you can make your cuts. And mine didn't turn out that great, and I know I've really got to work on getting my saws a little bit better off. I'd like to see somebody who could do this and get everything to fit together just perfectly with, you couldn't even slide a paper between those pieces. That would be really, really cool to see that, but that's not me. I can't do that. Anyways, it was fun trying. it.